Yeah, so we are on recording mode, and today we shall take a look at how to read comprehension and answer various kinds of comprehension. I will share my screen with you so that you can take a look at the PowerPoint presentation that has been made on this. Just give us a second, please. Now, this is something which is not very new to any of you. You've been doing this over God knows how many years in school. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is visible. Right. Okay, so I am sharing the screen once again in full screen mode now. And as I was saying, reading comprehension is something which you have done in school. But what is very important for you to note is that comprehension is going to be an important part of all the competitive examinations that you shall be giving throughout your career. So it is very important that you know how to approach reading comprehension. And tomorrow what I'll be doing is I will be doing something called a close test with you. Now, what that close test is, I will explain when I go into the teaching of this. But please remember that be it the management examination, be it any public service commission examination, be it even interviews and tests for private organizations, comprehension, reading comprehension is going to be an integral part and parcel of your English education. And therefore, I have dedicated 2 different classes to this entire segment. Now, how do you prepare for comprehension? Now, many of you will know that Visva-Bharati has a spoken English course, which I used to run at one point of time through the Dean's office. We will resume that class once. Somebody's put on the microphone, please put it off, please. The most important thing to know for many of you who want to speak in English but can't do so adequately is to prepare yourself. How does one go about preparing oneself for proper English speaking and writing? Now, one of the things I always want you to do is first watch certain English programs on television, right? Take one English news. It can be the BBC, it can be the NDTV, it can be whatever channel. Watch one English news. Watch an English film. You now have subtitles almost in all television channels, so you'll be able to follow. Hearing is very important. Listening is the first step in proper speaking and knowing English. Secondly, try and make a note of any difficult word that you find, right? And consult a dictionary. Now you don't need to consult a dictionary. You have it on your mobile phone. You can check the word, understand its meaning, listen to how it is pronounced, right? So that is very important. And third, every day try to read something. Some passage in English, one article in English. It can be a magazine. You have so many magazines at the tip of your hand nowadays in the mobile phone. So read one article from a newspaper, from a magazine, wherever. Right. Now, also, when you are preparing, please remember for the preparation of a comprehension, you have to see that a comprehension passage is divided into several paragraphs, right? And very often, the comprehension passage of a competitive test will immediately state the problem. Sorry, just give me a minute. I will I will just have to find out who has switched on the microphone. So somebody switched on the microphone. Please try and switch off the microphone, please. Kokon Paul, can you? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let me get back to what I was doing. So you please remember that any examination passage will generally give you the substance within the first paragraph itself. So the first paragraph of the comprehension becomes very important. You have to know this. Secondly, any comprehension, whenever you are doing the comprehension, needs to be answered with a pencil. Sit down to answer comprehension passages with a pencil and identify the key words. Every comprehension passage will have keywords, right? And you can do something else, which, those of you who want to go into IIMs, management examinations, or really give civil services examinations, very often what they do is they have 6 comprehension passages, for example. What they do is they mark the keywords in the questions. So you can do that also. When there are many comprehension passages, you can actually read the questions first and mark the keywords in the questions, remember them, and immediately go back and mark the passage, the part of the passage where those keywords are used, right? So finding keywords is one important way in which you can answer a comprehension passage, right? Now, understand what that passage is about. What kind of reasoning is being used? Now, I will practice with you 1 or 2 passages at the end of today's presentation so that you understand how to go about this. So, check whether the author uses cause and effect reasoning, hypothesis, model building, induction or deduction, systems thinking. Now, those of you who want to go in for management will remember that in management examinations, nowadays, what they're asking is analysis of data also. So passages might contain a lot of data which you will need to analyze, right? So it is all the more important to understand the key words and key concepts here and the type of reasoning that is used, right? Now, try to anticipate the author and predict future ideas and questions is something which you can do only with very difficult comprehension passages. Those of you who will go in and sit for the SAT examinations, those of you who want to sit for the TOEFL examinations later on to go abroad, will find these kinds of anticipation and prediction passages very often used, right? Now, most of these comprehension passages in your exams will rather ask you to write answers. Please remember that competitive examinations will not ask you to write answers. They will merely ask you to tick choices. But these choices may include answers, right? So in the correct answer choice, if you're writing an answer in an exam comprehension, every word must be completely true and within the scope of the passage. Don't write anything out of the passage. Don't write anything made up, right? Secondly, comprehension answers are always brief and to the point. You need not write anything that is extra, right? So you have to justify every word in the answer choice, right? And always search for the main idea instead of focusing on minor details. Now, any comprehension passage will have 2 things: major ideas and minor paddings. Paddings is something which, is an example, a metaphor, a kind of a conversation, which will substantiate that major idea. So it is important, to search for the major idea, right? And in your answers, please remember that you must try and avoid extreme words. right? All or never, these words you have to use very carefully, right? When you choose an extreme answer choice, the passage should back it completely. So it might be that in all cases of homicide, the police must act in this way. Only then use the word all in your answers. So avoid extreme words, but if extreme words are used, then try and back it up through the passage. Right. Then comes this question of how the material, how the passage is organized. Once again, you look at the paragraphs. Is it talking about chronology? So is it a historical passage which talks about dates? Does it talk in serial way? So point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. Is there a logical argument? So if this is X, then that is Y. Functionally, is the passage trying to tell us something or how to act? For example, if I take on something from a manual and put it as a comprehension passage as to how to light an electric switch or how to make a device, then that is a functional passage. Spatially, is it talking about space or hierarchy? Right. So is it talking about an organizational behavior and how, the management should act, or what are the channels of communication? Then that is a hierarchical passage. So you have to practice. You see, you have to practice comprehension and take different kinds of books that give you passages and continue practicing this. Why is comprehension so important? Because once again, as I say, that in any competitive examination, even private companies test your two things. Test two of your things. One is data analysis. For those who have a mathematical thing, science students, please note that they will try and give you a passage with data and ask you to analyze that data, see whether your quantitative analytical skills are fine. And the other is to test your language comprehension as to whether you can read a passage and make out the major ideas. So the questions on these passages will be like the major idea in this is 1, 2, 3, 4. The author wants this to happen because 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So this is the way in which passages are very often organized. Now, once again, I'm talking in blank air right now. We'll take a few comprehension passages and see what kind of ideas are generated. Right. Now, obviously, one of the things you could actually do, and this because all of you are students of mine, I would invite you to do this. We used to do this earlier. Set a goal for yourself. Most of you know what you want to do, right? Many of you don't. So if I ask you, what do you want to do in your, say, next 10 years? Some of you will say, I want to work in a school. Some of you will want to say, I want to work in a college. Some of you will be looking for private jobs. Many of you will be appearing for competitive examinations. Please set a goal for yourself. From the first year onwards, form a small group of people, right? Now, there will be people who are interested. There will be people who are not interested at all. Find out people who are interested in making a future. And then 2 or 3 of you, you can subscribe to something like Competition Success or whatever, magazine that you are reading, and choose passages. One can buy one book and the other can buy another book, and you work out the passages together. So if you can work together as a team, 2 or 3 people, not more than that, then maybe, just maybe, you can be a little ahead of all of the others. You have to bring in a competitive bent of mind if you have to crack these examinations, right? So try and read a lot of kind of passages, because they will also give you information on a lot of things. So the stronger your interest, the greater is your comprehension analyzing skill. And very important for you to understand is that you have to read quickly. In a competitive examination, the point is not what you know. The point is how quickly can you process information, right? I know because I set questions for a lot of competitive examinations for the government. What is given to us is that you have to give so many questions and the student has to process that information quickly. So you have to read briskly. Briskly is quickly. Now, how will you read English quickly if you do not know the language? So that is a practice that has to come. You have to mark words which you do not know. Find them out so that the next time the comprehension uses it, you know what that word means, right? So you have to read briskly, but at the same time, you cannot read so quickly that you miss the question, right? So you have to read briskly, but only at a speed that will result in proper comprehension. That is why you see, reading the question might be often a very good strategy because you exactly know what information is being asked from the passage, right? And as I keep on saying, it is important to build a good vocabulary, right? The best way to improve your vocabulary is to use a dictionary regularly. And by a dictionary, you have various kinds of dictionaries. You have a thesaurus, which gives you similar synonyms and antonyms, similar words and opposite words, right? So you can keep a thesaurus handy, or you have your mobile phone. That's the best dictionary nowadays. But check it. Whenever you come across a difficult word, check it. Keep a list of words to look up at the end of the day. Now, it is not just important to know what that word means. There's something called usage. Say, for example, I throw a word at you. Humongous is a word which is very often used. What does humongous mean? Humongous means very big, right? So the population of India is reaching a humongous proportion, is how it can be used, right? The humongous crisis, human rights crisis that is happening in Myanmar, for example, right? So make 2 or 3 sentences. If 2 or 3 people sit down together, 3 people can make a sentence, right? And this is the way in which you get the word into your system. Vocabulary does not mean just looking at a dictionary. Vocabulary means internalizing the word, getting that word into your system, right? And very often, when you sort of take a look at your word, try and find out what is the root of the word. What is the root of the word? For example, a lot of you use the word window, don't you? Now that window comes from 2 Scandinavian words, win, dog, I, hole. If you know that, then the meaning of window is very clear to you. So if you consult a dictionary, these are things you might look out for. You see, for example, language students, I have Chinese students from the Department of Chinese, from Japanese. Very often, when you study a foreign language, take a look at the root of the word. Where is it coming from? Then you can communicate. And my point is, at the end of the day, maybe, just maybe, it is useful to draft a passage for yourself. Say, for example, what is the news of the day? We used to play this while we were at Presidency College. People like me who were very interested in competitive examinations. Everybody used to make a small paragraph. Say, for example, the Uttarakhand crisis. So somebody reads out about the Uttarakhand crisis and you ask a question. How many people are missing? What was the cause of the crisis? What could have been done by the government? What is the government doing? You have a comprehension passage, right? And that comprehension passage has been made by you. If you can do that, then it is very easy to formulate your rational analytical skills. See, these WH words are very useful words. What is the problem? Why is the problem? What can be done about the problem? Or how can the problem be tackled? Think in these terms or in these ways, and you will find out that, you see, at the end of the day, if you draft a comprehension passage for yourself, you are much more in sync with the times. Now, I know that this might seem ridiculous to you. You're in your first years. Looking for your job at the might be seeming a lot distant right now, right? It's much more easy to go to your mobile phone and look at the latest music video. But understand this, young men and women, in 3 years' time, you will be a graduate. And then, once you be a graduate, to take money from your parents will not be a cool thing, right? When I was at Presidency College and I asked my daughter to do the same, I made it a point that after 18 years, I would not take money from my father for my personal experience. They used to do a lot of tuitions. Try and do that. When you teach somebody, you have to know. You have to know the basics so that you can teach a young person how to think. Similarly, this is the point from which, if you prepare, you will do well in your exams. Not only in your exams, but in your outlook to life. I'm sorry, I might seem like an old fogey giving you a lot of advice, but these 3 years will pass by very quickly. And then suddenly that word bekar, or somebody who's unemployed, becomes a thorn in your flesh. So this is going to be something you will need to do. And comprehension is going to help you. Practicing comprehension and general knowledge is going to be very important for you. Okay, let me get back to my topic instead of giving you all advice. Be an active reader, right? So active reader, engage. I mean, say, read the passage carefully. Don't read it if you do not have attention, right? If you do not pay attention, don't read it, right? And developing a habit of reading is of critical importance, and it provides the basic foundation stone required for comprehending passages in an effective manner. You see, for your higher secondary exams, where all of you have scored very good marks, otherwise you wouldn't have been here, what you did was you read very little, you mugged it up, and you sort of put it on pen and paper. But now you have to broaden the scope of your reading. Read more. Read about your subject. Read about your context. For example, people from the Japanese department need to read what is happening in Japan today, a Japanese newspaper if possible, a Japanese TV channel if possible. That is where the audio-visual medium can be very useful for you. Okay, and why is it important to read? Because it increases the speed of your reading. English is not your normal language, right? For a lot of people who had English as a second language. English is not your mother tongue, neither did you read your subjects in English. So it is very important to gain a speed of reading in English, right? So ability to quickly distinguish sentences which are important from sentences which are too general. So when you read, you know this is the important sentence of the passage. If a passage is talking about angiography, for example, and there is an example provided on it, you need to read what the angiography is about. You don't need to read the example to that extent. So while reading, keep an eye open for redundant sentences so that it might be avoided, right? Actively engage with the passage and try immediately to frame in your mind in simple words what the passage is talking about. Go faster after the first paragraph. Very often the first paragraph will give you the theme of the comprehension passage, and then you can quickly move forward. Right? And this is very important. This use of short-term memory. Hold the framework of the passage in your memory as you work your way through the passage. So by the time you've gone to the 5th paragraph, if you've forgotten what the first paragraph said, no good. So my point is, this is also a practice to remember what 5 paragraphs have told you in your memory. This comes only with practice. Do not get lost in the details later on in the passage. Do not try to master every bit of the content. If you already have the question at the back of your mind, then this becomes easier. And very important is read quality articles, right? Reading articles that challenge your comprehension is of extreme importance. So therefore, take a magazine, any magazine. It can be Outlook, it can be India Today, it can comprehend competition success, it can be even be any other magazine, a good newspaper, right? But be careful. Most of you read 2 paragraphs of an article and then let it go. No, when you read that article, complete it. Read at least 2 English articles daily. Please remember this. You are very young people. English is going to be an important part of your career, whichever profession you take, whichever profession. Read at least 2 articles a day from a newspaper, from a magazine. Now, when you go to the Central Library of Visva-Bharati, when the university reopens, you will find we have a very good periodical reading room. You'll find the journals, you'll find the, magazines, you'll find the newspapers. Many students who are interested come there and read 2 articles a day. You have to read, just not see the news or a film. Otherwise, at the end of the day, when you appear for your exams, it's going to be the pen and paper which is going to work for you. Any competitive examination also, even when you are answering these on screen, right? So, it's important also to find out, there are a lot of resources nowadays where you have, say you are studying for the WBCS examinations. What kind of passages are given there? A banking examination, for example. A lot of you are going to appear for banking examinations. The Staff Selection Commission, for example. See the passages. Familiarize yourself. Try practicing. They're available over the internet. The internet is a massive resource if you can use it properly. Otherwise, it is a massive distraction. And if you can take notes while reading, then that is an additional benefit, right? Key elements of the passage, you write down keywords. This will force you to read actively. When you try to write down keywords or key concepts, you immediately jot it down in your mind. The writing down should be as simple as possible and should allow you to grasp the simple story of the passage. And wherever possible, try and use symbols or abbreviations, right? So you do it all the time while you are sending SMSs. So you can devise simple abbreviations for yourself while working at comprehension passages. Okay, now answering the comprehension questions, skim once as rapidly as possible to determine the main idea before you look at the questions. So ideally, how I go about it is, I read the passage very quickly. Then I look at the questions. Then I go back to the passage and underline the sections where the answers are located. By that time, I know what the passage is talking about. By that time, I know what the questions are. Now I can underline the answers and get on with answering the questions properly. Underline the words that you do not understand. For many of you, English, as I say, is a difficult language. So try practicing that. Very often, in many cases, you will probably not understand it in the exam question, but you will have to answer it through by processing the words around that unknown word. Look at the questions carefully, right? Please keep to order in which the questions appear in the test paper. Generally, questions are asked from the passage chronologically. Concentrate on the vocabulary items and puzzle out the meaning of any words you don't know from the context. So very often in the comprehension passage, you will be given the word in this passage, which is closest to the concept of this is. You do not know the meaning of the word, but you can make the sense out of it if you read the sentences around it carefully, right? Remember, any comprehension passage will require 2 readings to answer it properly. So if you cannot read quickly, you cannot answer questions properly. Very often you will have negative marking. So it is important that you get the answers correct. Otherwise, you lose out. Before writing the answers, check the questions again to be sure you've really understood them. So very often nowadays on the computer, you are required to mark A choice or B choice. Before you do that, read the question once carefully. Very often we generally are in a hurry, and therefore we do not read the question and make answers and write wrong answers. You must write complete sentences as answers. This is in passages where you are writing down the answers. This is a passage which may be asked in the entrance examination. I'm sorry, in the final examination. And the answers you write on pen and paper must be relevant and to the point, right? So generally take, say, two points for, slightly more evaluated questions. If they have 2 marks, you give 2 points. If they have 1 answer, 1 mark, then maybe it's one point that they are asking for. What are the question varieties? So this was the comprehension. Now, what are the question varieties that are asked? Why questions? So you are required to give reasons, provide explanations, and give evidence, right? So words that show cause, effect, and purpose. So why, therefore, so effect is therefore, why is the cause word, reason, right? Reason. The reason for the increase in the number of lifestyle diseases. The symptoms. These are words, cause words. Effect words, therefore, we can therefore see, we note therefore, and purpose words for an action. The action to be taken, the recourse to be had, the urgent necessity to be followed. These are purpose words. Now, these are why questions. Long passages, why questions. Inference questions. You need to make a deduction. This is now the most common form of question asked in competitive examinations. What is the main idea here? Why does the author say that this is important? The passage is asking us to make the following inference. And finally, there might be rephrasing questions. These are usually asked in longer, answer passages that you are required to explain a word in your own words or substitute a word, phrase in the passage without altering its meaning. You will find that this is testing fundamentally your vocabulary. That is why I'm saying vocabulary is very important for you, right? And to do so, it is essential to understand the word and phrase in its context, right? So that is that. Next day, we'll look at this phenomenon called the cloze test, which is now the most prevalent form that is used in many competitive examinations. That is something which I'll do tomorrow with you, right? So these are things that I have discussed and strategies through which you can effectively prepare for your competitive examinations and reading comprehension. What I'll do is, for the time being, I will stop the sharing for a moment and come back to any questions that you have on whatever I have said right till now. If you have any questions, yes, Abidan, you have raised your hand, so I guess you have a question here. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, as an examiner, while you are checking these comprehensions, like what would you prefer is the best way to answer a comprehensive question, like quoting the text, or should we process the question and lay it out in our own thinking as such?
You see, as far as possible, very often we suggest that you write the answers in your own words as much as possible, right? But having said that, Abidan, not everybody of you will be able to do that, right? So if the passage is difficult, I suggest it is important that you write the correct answer. So quote from the passage if necessary, right? But if you have the ability, as an examiner, I will always mark a person higher if he or she can explain it to me in his or her own words. But say, for example, I have a 1-mark question where I've asked, what is the cause for the recent flooding in Uttarakhand? And you say that there was a cloud burst. So the operative word in the passage is cloud burst. You cannot do anything but answer it in that way. So it all depends on the question, the marks allotted to it. But if there is a 5-mark question, right, which asks, say, for example, in the passage given, try and analyze why the cause of mental diseases is increasing in India, or why the cause of mental diseases, or why mental diseases have increased during the time of the pandemic. If that is a 4-mark question, if you can take the main points and answer it in your own words, there I will give you 3.5 or 4 out of 4. If somebody has answered it not from the passage only, then I will probably give him or her 3.5, right? But remember that most comprehension passages are nowadays asked on the computer or in the tick mark form, where all these options will not exist, right? So probably the answer will already be given. You have to just choose the correct answer. So it all depends on the passage. But if you've got up your language abilities, try and answer it in your own words.
Thank you,
if you're sure about it, right? Okay. Right. Any other questions? That was a good question, Abidan. Thank you for this. In case of NET examinations, how should we prepare? You see, the NET examination, well, there are 2 different components of the NET examination. The first component, and this is a relevant question, the second component, sorry, let me get the second component first out, is on your subject. That I will not discuss here because it is different for every other, subject. It's different for every subject. But the first part of the NET examination will, if you look at the question papers, will give you comprehension passages from where you are asked to make deductions. There will be passages on teaching. You know, they have this within the syllabus, the different commissions which were made on the education policy, for example. They will have questions on what is the effective mode of teaching. So you have to know the effective modes of teaching. Then there will be certain mathematical questions, say AP, GP, arithmetic, geometric progression. They'll give you, if XYZM means please, then what does lease? What will be the sequence of words for lease? And there will be comprehension passages from which vocabulary questions might be asked. What is the right option? What is the choice of the author? What does the author mean when he says this line? And you will be given certain options. So yes, comprehension is a part of the NET examination, the first paper. So when you are preparing for the next NET examination, if you're very serious about it, then you need to try and solve these question papers. If not now, at least by the time you come to your second or your third years of the graduate examination. You see, very important, Aditi, thank you for pointing that out, is that this is probably the only year when you will have a little bit of, you see, leeway. You know, you are sitting at home, literally whiling away the time. Your classes have started, but not started to that extent. You don't have to travel. You know, one of the good things that many of you could do is there's a BBC app on English, right? BBC app on practicing English skills. This is also for the English department students. Download that. They have small quizzes, say 10 questions they'll be asking. What are the questions that are asked normally in competitive examinations? They're going to ask you vocabulary questions. They're going to ask you preposition questions. They're going to ask you adjective or tense questions. And they're going to ask you cloze tests. The cloze tests I'll do tomorrow. That is an integral part of the examination system nowadays. Any competitive exam will have it. Those are, again, what is the appropriate word, right? So we'll practice that. But for the NET examinations, you need to know what the education policies are. You need to know a little bit of mathematics, arithmetic progression. A good book to study or start here is any, a Tata McGraw-Hill book on the mental ability tests, right? Any good, Tata McGraw-Hill, not necessarily, any good book on the mental ability test. Now, while my daughter was preparing for her, entrance examinations, we got a lot of books for her. One was on the BHU test, for example. One was the earlier question papers of various universities. You will find in them also, for example, the CLAT examination book preparation has these close. And I will try and show you the picture of the Oxford book. Oxford University Press has brought out a very good book for competitive examinations in English. I'll try and give you the cover of that book tomorrow. The book, unfortunately, is not with me, but I'll sort of try and project it tomorrow. Right, I've spoken for a long, long time, it seems. Any other questions? No? Then one of you, through the what I did also have for a lot of you is, and I'll present one other thing now here, is some comprehension passages which I had downloaded for you to practice. Now, what I will do is, how should we prepare for TOEFL or any English proficiency tests? Dijita, this will require a long session. So I suggest that if the university reopens and you are really serious about this, then the people who want to do this, who want to appear for TOEFL or English proficiency tests, will have to undergo, sessions on pronunciation, on comprehension, and also on language, how to use language. So you will be needing a little bit of grammar, you will be needing a little bit of pronunciation, and you will be needing a lot of comprehension. So if you are interested, you can form a group, and I can come in once in a while and discuss this with you, right? As to how to go about it. A lot of your seniors will also be appearing for the TOEFL examinations. So they too will be able to guide you. but the structure of the TOEFL examination will have to be seen, and you will have to be advised accordingly. Right. These are the passages that I had taken for you, which had the questions and the answers as well. So if any of you sends me an email, I can send it to them and you can circulate this. So tomorrow I will also do the closed test examples and read with you at least one comprehension passage. Tomorrow I won't talk so much. I will do the examples with you. Right. Okay, so I am leaving that for tomorrow so that we can go do a little bit of hands-on session. Right. For component 2 in English, what do you have to study?
Do we have our classes tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
Do we have our classes tomorrow? Because
I haven't given you a link, have I?
No.
Oh, there's only one link. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not know that. I thought we did have a one more class. Oh, I'm so sorry about this. Okay, no problem. I'll put this up on the website today. Right. I'll put this up on the website today that we are having a continuity class and we will have one more class today. Have you taken a look at the notice? Because I thought we had a class.
Amrita.
What?
Yes, we had
a link.
Amrita, there is a class tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, so there's a class tomorrow and we are having the link also.
Okay. So Vijita, if you can join in tomorrow, you can check on the website. I've put out a detailed notice. Even if you can't join in tomorrow, take a look at the YouTube video. And I promise you that when the university opens, you see the AECC examination is just, one part of your learning process. Examinations, you see, all of you have to understand that just being a graduate will not get you a job. You will have to appear for exams, competitions, and so on and so forth. So I am there at the university and I am always available for, interested students, but you have to show your interest that you're willing to work. And we have this, spoken English course also, which was the Dean's office used to do before the corona epidemic happened. And our students, that is English department students, used to help other interested students out. So we'll resume that. And maybe through the Dean's office, we can have these sessions where we can have these practices so that we can have an interested body of students and we can help you out with this. Right? Okay.
Sir, thank you.
Let the university open and then, you will... No problems. No problems at all. Right. Okay, then, with your permission, therefore, thank you for attending the class. If there are no other questions, then can I...
Sir, the component
Yes.
2 question, if you kindly answer.
No, the component 2 question, Aditi, is something which we'll have to do in an English department class, because that is specific to the English syllabus as it for the net. Right. So once we have finished your syllabus, we have already, maybe we could let the university reopen. I think we are going to reopen immediately after your semester examinations. We're looking at April, maybe, when we can realistically come back. So we'll discuss this maybe in person or in class. Right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, don't worry about the net. You still have some time, but start practicing paper 1 if you want to. You can take a look at the exams, question papers, and start practicing paper 1. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for your presence. And tomorrow we'll take a look at the closed test and practice some comprehension passages. Thank you very much and have a very good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
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 Thanks.
Thank you, sir.